Hi and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. Today I thought I'd share with you a technique that is really fun to do with clear stamps. And for this technique, you actually stamp with the back of the stamp to create a shadow. Now this works best with symmetrical images such as suns or circles or hearts. However, I did figure out a way to do the technique with things that aren't symmetrical, and I'll show you that at the end of the video, and that's what I did on this card here. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm using some new products from Hero Arts today. These are part of their planner release. These images were really designed to work in planners, however they work great on cards. This particular set includes a small stamp set and 2 word bubble dies. So I'm going to be using these today on the cards. Since these images are smaller, I'm going to make smaller cards at 3.5 by 5 inches. Now for the first part of stamping, I'm actually going to put the stamp onto my acrylic mount so that the front of the stamp is stuck to the acrylic mount. So the back of the stamp is what will receive the ink. So this is completely opposite of what we normally do. It's completely backwards, but this allows us to stamp with the back of the stamp. So you can see as I ink it up here, I'm going to get this like large shadow look with the back of the stamp. So I'm going to stamp this repeatedly on a piece of white cardstock. I'm using 2 colors of ink here, Ultra Pink and Bubblegum. Both are from Hero Arts. These are shadow inks, so when you first stamp them, they'll be splotchy and kind of dark, but they will dry nice and smooth and even. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this to cover the entire front of this piece of white cardstock. By the way, this cardstock is 3.25 by 4.75. This will work well on a 3.5 by 5 inch card. Now for this one, I'm using the back of a sunshine stamp from that same stamp set, and I'm using some butter bar and soft apricot inks to stamp these little circles. Okay, once those have all dried, you can heat set them to speed it up if you want. I'm going to go ahead and mount the stamp correctly with the regular image facing out. And this I'm stamping with a darker ink. This is Raspberry Jam. And I'm just stamping right on top of the shadow. And you can see how this works perfectly to create kind of like a shadow around your stamped image. This time I'm stamping with orange soda, the little sunshines on the little dots that we created before. So stamping with the back of the stamp works great with any symmetrical image, such as the sunshine and the heart. Here I am using a balloon stamp from that same stamp set that I showed you earlier, and I stamped all those backgrounds with Tide Pool and Green Hills ink. Then I stamped the balloons on top with cornflower ink. Now here with the cornflower ink, I'm actually tapping the tip of my stylus onto the ink pad so I can create tiny little dots on the background. And you can see I did that with the pink ink on the heart card and the orange ink on the yellow sunshine card. So it's just a way to add little details to the background. So here you can see how the back of the stamp created the perfect shadow for the images themselves. Now I wanted to show you how I finished off these cards, including the sentiment. So I die cut one of the word bubbles, the larger one that was included in the set I showed you earlier. Die cut that from black cardstock. I used my anti-static powder tool, and then I stamped with Versamark ink the hello image that's included in that stamp set. However, I wanted kind of like a sub-sentiment, like another smaller sentiment below it. So I used this Many Everyday Messages stamp set from Hero Arts to stamp the Sending Smiles sentiment. Now I'm adding some Hero Arts white embossing powder and heat setting that. Once it's dry, I can rub away any of that powder from the anti-static powder tool, and we have some great sentiments ready to go for this card. Now, I wanted to do Hello Sunshine on one of these, but the Hey Sunshine is part of that stamp set that I just showed you. So I just inked up the word sunshine with the Versamark ink so that I could have the message Hello Sunshine. I really like sentiment stamp sets like that Everyday Messages because it has lots of things on it that you can use for kind of sub-sentiments with bigger words as the main sentiment. So I did Sending Love on the third one. After I finished all those, I took them into my shower and sprayed them with a few mists of that shimmer mist. And then I just heated up so it could dry, and you can see that shimmer it puts on the black cardstock. It's absolutely beautiful on black. So I wanted to add this on with dimension. So I'm just cutting some small pieces of craft foam that I'm going to adhere between the black die cuts and my note cards. You could use foam tape if you want to. Now I did glue my stamped backgrounds on to just note cards that I created. The note cards themselves are 3.5 by 5 inches and they're top folding. Now at this point I wanted to add this kind of like kind of crooked hanging off the card. But to be honest with you, I just have a hard time with not making things straight. So I just decided to put it onto the card in the top center and leave it at that. I did want to add some bling to it, so I used some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium, and this is a super strong adhesive. And then I'm using my Crystal Cantana, I think that's what it's called, to pick up the sequins and add it to the card. This is a great tool to quickly add sequins, and the other side has a nice tip, so you can kind of move them where you want them. So I decided just to put a few clear ones on each of these cards, and there we have our cards for doing the back stamping with any images that are symmetrical. Now, if you have any stamps that aren't symmetrical, like the ones in the background here, you can still do back stamping, but you have to do it a little bit differently. So I had these 2 stamp sets from Hero Arts. These are part of the planner release once again. There are so many great cute images in here and fun words in a fun font. So I wanted to be able to use these today also. I plan to do more cards using some of the leaves and flowers in the future. So I picked a few different kind of birthday images because I needed some birthday cards. We're going to do back stamping with these. However, they are not symmetrical. So if I stamped with the back side and then stamped with the front, they wouldn't line up nicely. So what I'm going to do is use vellum, and I can create a background using vellum with back stamping. Let me show you what I mean. Here is the heart balloon. If I stamp it with the back side and then flip it over and stamp on the top with the front side, you'll see they don't line up. It doesn't look that great. So that's why we need to use this trick that I'm about to show you, because this is not symmetrical. So I have a piece of vellum, and I'm going to stamp on one side of the vellum with my Hero Art shadow inks and the back side of the stamps. Now, dye inks don't really want to dry on vellum and kind of puddle up a little bit. So what I'm doing is stamping it and then just using a dry cloth to dab away some of the ink to kind of soften it and smooth it out. You want to make sure you use a clean part of the cloth each time that you dab it away so you don't kind of move ink around. So I have a few different images here where I'm stamping with the back side in various Hero Art shadow inks. You'll notice that each time I do so, I do dab it off with that dry cloth. I just press on it and then pull up. I don't move it around, or I just smear it. So once you kind of start in one corner, work your way down, you can do this very quickly. You just repeat stamp all of the images with various colors. You'll want to heat set it so you can make sure that that ink stays dry. So now we're going to flip all of our stamps over so they're mounted correctly. And we flipped our vellum over. So I'm stamping on the other side of the vellum this time. I used my anti-static powder tool, and now I'm stamping the images correctly over their shadow with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to add white embossing powder. So since we did the back stamping on the back side of the vellum, when we flip it over, we have it correctly. So now everything is going to line up perfectly. So again, I'm going to go through with all of the images and stamp them in the correct way with Versamark ink, add white embossing powder, and heat set it. And then we have this fun, soft shadow around all of our white heat embossed images. So remember, the white heat embossing's on the front, and all that colored back stamping is on the back of this vellum. Keep in mind that the color will be softer than the ink color itself, so you want to make sure to pick a darker color of ink if you want it to be more vibrant on the front side of the vellum. So I have die cut another word bubble, stamped the sentiments with matching ink, and I'm going to glue these on the front of the vellum. I'm centering the vellum up on my card. I'm going to glue that word bubble right on front. Now, to adhere this to the card, the vellum piece, I'm going to hide my adhesive behind that word bubble. So I'm using some strong double-sided tape, and I'll glue that to the front of a 3.5 by 5 inch white note card. Now, the rest of the vellum, the outside edges, will not be glued down, but this is enough adhesive to hold it in place. However, if you don't want the corners flapping up a little bit, you can use your quickie glue pen to just put a little bit of glue behind the white embossing. That way it's hidden a bit, just in some of the corners, and then put something heavy over it, and this will adhere the vellum down onto the white card. So stamping on the two sides of the vellum is a great way to do the back stamping for any images that are not symmetrical. I really find that back stamping works great with smaller images when you're doing a repeated background like this, but you can really try it with any images you may have. So if you're interested in the products I use, they're all linked below in my YouTube description as always, or you can go over to my blog. In the middle are 2 other videos that might be of interest. The first is another way to use smaller stamps. The second is another way to do stamping with coloring on vellum. Also, if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe so you can see future videos. And I hope you have a great day and come back soon.